Michael, Barnsley unbeaten in 5, won the last 3. What type of game are you expecting?
Clearly, just from the results you said, a tough one. Obviously, we've a team, I think, which has done very well, obviously in the league this season, and have a team which has given, I think, most teams a tough task. We played them the game 2-2 at home. We were hindered by the red card. I still felt we did enough to win that game, but I think they've improved since then. And they're a high energy team. They're a team that likes to press you, make you make mistakes, particularly in your own half. So we have to be ready for that, and we'll have to be at our best to try and win the game.
Have you been surprised with their upturn, Michael?
Not really. No, I think that nothing surprises me in this league, really, when you look at the results at times, and teams can go on various little runs at different stages of the seasons, and equally teams can fall into a lull and struggle. I think Barnsley, certainly since the new manager has come in, have done very, very well, and I think they've adapted to the style of play that he wants to play, and it's been very, very effective for them. So I think they have also a lot of players in their squad that are really keen to prove themselves at this level. So that's a nice thing to have, hungry players that are keen to do well at this level. So we certainly have to match their appetite for the game.
You've talked about their intensity. So will you be looking to freshen up your own team, given the schedule that you've been playing under last week and this week?
Yeah, that's something for us to consider. We have to look at what options we have in terms of where we can freshen it up. But we also, if we look at what we've had in the past week, we freshened the team up between Norwich and Sheffield Wednesday. So there's a number of players that have only played 2 games, and a number of players, for example, who maybe hadn't played a lot in recent times. So we've, as opposed to just what's in the week, you have to look at it on a slightly longer basis from that. But players want to play, and you want to get consistency in your team. So it's getting the balance right between freshening it up and obviously not disrupting it too much.
Thompson and Allen have given a really nice balance in midfield, but when you play against some stronger teams, you probably need to think about having that extra central defensive midfielder in place, don't you?
It's always like we will either play with a holding midfield player and 2 8s, or we'll play with a more of a 2, as we played in Nick Powell as a 10. There's different things tactically we have to think about. If we play with a 3 midfield, we either have to include Nick in one of the 3, or we play him off the left, or we don't play him at all. And at this minute in time, obviously, he's a player who's in very good form for us. So it's about fitting the system around the players a little bit as well. But I think, to be honest, Joe and Jordan did very well on Saturday in terms of, giving us control of the game. They did well for second ball as well. That'll be a big part of the game tomorrow night. So, as I say, we just have to make sure that we pick a team for the right type of game and obviously get the performance that we want.
You've talked about Nick Powell, and he and Fletcher in the right formation. They're a match for anybody, but have you given them any scoring targets now, or are they the sort of people that don't need a target?
No, I don't think that, giving them targets is not really, hopefully they've set them for themselves as opposed to me necessarily setting targets for them. It's good to see Nick in double figures. Fletch now looks like, he's going to score in every game. I think he'll be in double figures soon himself, and confidence is high. And that's what we want. They have a good understanding. You see that in training. Unfortunately, we restrict it a lot to get them on the pitch as often as maybe we would have liked earlier in the season. But we're seeing the benefit of that now. And, as long as they both continue scoring, I'll be happy.
You've talked about the team keep progressing, and you've laboured the point that it's a progression. You want to keep as close as possible to the top 6. And do you think that this week is really pivotal, given the 2 difficult away games you have?
Well, I think it's the most important thing is to continue and get consistency in our results. And so on the back of two wins, having lost at Norwich, we've had a good reaction. So we're not really getting carried away with where that may or may not propel us. That's for other people to look at, and the gap between ourselves and the top 6. But what we know that, we're going to have to be more consistent in the remaining games of the season, possibly than we have been at any point in the season, to give ourselves a chance of that. So we may as well just focus on trying to be as consistent as possible. And that's where the focus is for the players, to continue to work and continue to look to improve. There's been quite a lot of changes. The squad's been stretched. The injuries again are starting to creep in a little bit, which hurts us. And every team's the same, really. The midweek games are always a challenge, but we're just aiming to get that real consistency in our play. And we know if we can get that and get that in our results, then we'll be able to push up the table.
You had Adam Davies on the bench on Saturday. Was there any particular reason for that?
No, I think it's fair. You have to be fair to the goalkeepers. And, Adam lost his place because he got injured. And, he wasn't really, Angus was ahead of him in terms of return to play when we decided to take young Joe out. So there's very little between any of the goalkeepers. And it's not a reflection on Joe that we did that. But I think it's just been fair to Adam as well.
And you're on to injuries. Do we have any injury news?
Well, obviously, Morgan Fox and Nathan Collins are still out. And we have doubts about James McLean and Sam Clucas, who came out of training today.
What about Rabbi Matondo? Is he on the way back?
No, Rabbi's still another week. He had a small injection and he's been working with the fitness guys. So hopefully we can drop him back into training at the start of next week. But he won't be fit for this game and probably not the weekend either.
And finally from me, the government announced yesterday that there'll be no fans in the stadium before the end of the season. How disappointed are you by that?
Well, it's disappointing, but if I'm honest, that's what I expected. I didn't expect that we would get fans back before the season would end. We've kind of got, I suppose, accustomed to playing without them. It's not ideal. We've said that many times, but it's good that at least there seems to be a way out of this, and that obviously all sport gets people back in venues, and if that's a small steps at a time, at least it's a step in the right direction. So I think we've just got to obviously prepare ourselves to play in empty stadiums between now and the end of the season, and hopefully then we can look forward to next season and be close to full capacity by then.
Thank you, Michael. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, George now, please.
Thanks for joining us, Michael. Just going into this game, of course, you're in a rich vein of form in terms of the results and back-to-back wins and clean sheets. That's a great starting point, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's nice that, we got a good reaction to losing at Norwich, and the 2 wins and 2 clean sheets helps us, builds confidence, puts points on the board, and, it gives us the chance now to really try and, get real momentum between now and the end of the season. We will lose games between now and the end of the season, I've no doubts of that. But the key is to make sure we lose as few as possible, and obviously get winning runs and unbeaten runs that last us, for a number of games. And the 2 back-to-back wins give us a platform to do that.
It's all about momentum, any part of the season, but particularly now, Michael, as we move into, I suppose, really the real stage where it could result in getting there or not getting there.
Yeah, look, I think if you look at the teams above us in the league, they've been more consistent than us. That's why they're above us. It's nothing, and equally, you can move up the league quite quickly. We see that with Cardiff, obviously, with stringing wins together, and suddenly they've put themselves in a position where they're, I think, a point above ourselves. So yeah, look, without getting ahead of ourselves and without, making statements that we're going to finish in the top 6 or anything like this, we're just trying to make sure that we maintain our confidence. We know what we need in ourselves. We know that we have to continue to, win games, home and away. And if we continue to do that, then obviously we'll see where that takes us between now and the end of the season.
And certainly Barnsley, all of a sudden, have come out the pack. A lot of people haven't looked at them. You probably have, as a person who's going to obviously look at them in the opposition side of it. But they're an unfashionable club, but they're there on merit, Michael, aren't they?
Yeah, they've done well. I think, they had to fight to stay in the league last season. They did a good job to do that. And this season, they had a difficult start, I think. But they've been consistent, particularly since Christmas. they're a very hard-working team, a high-intensity team, and what they do have, as I said previously, they have a lot of players who are very keen to prove themselves at this level. So there'll be a tough game, and they've been tough opposition for any of the teams that they've played them. And as I say, we've reinforced that to the players, what to expect, and it'll be a tough game on a difficult pitch.
You've always said loyally you want a good start out the blocks quickly, and that's essential in any game, Michael, particularly there, because they are a high-pressing team, and you've got to match that, haven't you?
They are, and we've got to play smart, more intelligently. More importantly, rather, is that we understand how they'll play, and they get a lot of joy out of forcing the opposition into making mistakes. So, we have to be smart how we play as well, start the game at the right times, and be prepared for a game where there may be a little bit more second ball competition in the middle of the pitch than what we would normally have to expect. And that's part of the game, and we have to match their appetite for the game. That'll be the most important thing. And as I say, we have a great chance. There's no reason why our appetite shouldn't be there to match theirs, and obviously try and win the game.
And you already alluded to about rotation, Michael. It's an important part of the game now as we move into the last quarter of the season, that you'd use that correctly in itself in many ways with the versatility of the squad you have at your disposal.
Well, yeah, look, you have to get the balance right. And sometimes when you bring players in who possibly haven't played for weeks, it takes them a couple of games to adapt to that. And that's always a dilemma for you as a manager. Will the players you bring in when you rotate, will they hit the ground running? We've had difficulties with that. I think, we tried to do that earlier in the season at Swansea, protect some players, and it didn't work for us. So it's getting the balance right. Injuries force that as well. Obviously, we've had injuries in recent weeks again, and the squad is smaller now than it has been at any point, with players going out on loan. But I think players are at a stage of the season where they're probably a little bit more prone, they're a little bit more fatigued. There's been a lot of midweek games, but this is where you see the real character of players in terms of what we can achieve between now and the end of the season.